Hello, 605 Speaks peeps. I'm back. I'm super excited. I'm really tired. I was in the Parade of Lights for the first time ever in my life. It's the 30th year of the Parade of Lights in Sioux Falls, which always happens the Friday after Thanksgiving. And I am not a cold weather person, so I have never attended before. And the first time I decided to attend, I was in the parade with SuperCon. So that was really awesome. But I am still cold from it and still having a little bit of a flare up. So if you see me moving around a lot or anything, that's what it's from. Also, it is potentially from excitement for the person I'm going to be talking with today because A, it's someone I do know in real life, but haven't got to talk to face for quite a while. B, it's a county that is on my list, of course, but that I haven't talked to anybody from, Dewey County. It's also a county I've never been to. And C, I'm just always excited to record and learn new stuff about our state. So I am very excited to bring on the screen with me Marshondria. Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
So we were just chatting a little bit before we got started. And the first thing you said is, now remember, I left South Dakota for 10 yees and lived in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So you don't even have an Okie accent though.
Yeah,
long enough.
I wasn't there long enough and maybe visited home enough that, yeah.
That didn't happen. But that's a good lead into when you returned to South Dakota, you came back to the Sioux Falls area, which is where you had lived before. And we met through our professional lives. We were young people doing our jobs and met then. And you were a lightning girl.
Yes, lightning girl.
Which, did you also do pageants? Did I? Are you a pageant queen?
I'm Miss Black South Dakota 2003 and Miss Congeniality from that pageant. And I think the last one I competed in was in 2009. That was when I aged out and I got Miss Congeniality and Best Dress. And so, yeah, love pageants. We'll have to be married to do the next one, they tell me. So that's not going to happen.
Maybe that's what I can start as a Ms. South Dakota.
Yes.
Be like, I do not need a man to get a crown.
Preach. Preach. I am the crown. No.
That's right. If a man gets me, I am the crown. So I did think about practicing my dance moves to be ready in case you busted out any kind of dance. But you have gone a whole new direction in life, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, tell me what it's like to live in Dewey County, South Dakota. Where are you in relation to Sioux Falls? Like how many hours away?
Yes. So first things first, I'm the realist. No, just kidding.
Yes.
Songs. So I obviously Sioux Falls is East River, so now I'm West River.
Right.
So I'm in mountain
zones.
Yes, I'm in mountain time. So that we have that going, as well as, so I'm 4.5 hours drive. I don't know how to do that. Like, I just know it takes 4.5 hours to drive no matter what time zone. So that's where I am from Sioux Falls. I'm on the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe Reservation in the town of LaPlante in the county of Dewey.
So I have familiarity of Cheyenne River in the public political sense of, is that where the Dakota Access Pipeline things were crossing through there, or is that farther to the west? That's not near where you were.
I don't think it's near where I am. Do you know where Eagle Butte is?
Yes.
Or Gettysburg. I'm between Eagle Butte and Gettysburg.
Okay. So what in your immediate range is the nearest what you would consider a big town? Who's got a Walmart? I was based
here, so that's like an hour away, which is hilarious. Fun fact about Marshondria, super forgetful. I have a company car and then I have like my personal car. And if I have gas, I don't know why, I just forget things. But I drove to Pier one day to do some grocery shopping, get some Scooters coffee, was in the drive-through line, made it all the way up to pay and realized I didn't have my card. So
Oh,
drove all the way back home, and I felt so bad for the person in, serving me, and they're like, "You can come back." I'm like, "Oh, sweetie, I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm an hour away, so no." But so I came home and took a soak in Epsom salt to laugh at myself. But yeah, I drove all the way to Pier without my driver's license. So I had a 2-hour jam session essentially because I jammed on the way there and jammed on the way back.
so you have a Taco John's? We talked about this earlier. Like
We
I do Taco John's before I record.
I love it.
Potato Lays because I like those. But
I know you like those.
how far do you
So
go for Potato Lays?
not as far. I think it's only like a 35-40 minute drive because I can't speed like I would like to. So
That's still a little bit unacceptable. I may have to tweet the people at Taco John's and be like, "Did you know that we are being underserved in Dewey County?"
well, it's in Dewey County. It's just not in my city.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, still in Dewey County, just not my city. Because I found out because I registered to vote because I made it just in time to transfer all of my stuff for registering to vote. Because I was like, oh, women weren't allowed and Black women weren't allowed. So I am going to register or I'm going to vote.
Yes.
So yeah. So that's the only reason I know that I'm still in Dewey County and the potato allays that are 35 minutes away are still in Dewey County, just in another city.
There we go. How
Yeah.
long have you been? It hasn't even been a full year, has it? That you've
It
been
has
there?
not. So I like to say that I do the scenic route in life, obviously. I know we're going to talk about this more later, but I was gone for 10 years. I came back in 2021. And then basically on my year mark of being back in Sioux Falls for a year, I moved out here.
Okay.
in April. So,
And the moving out there happened very fast. Like the decision and the making the arrangements and all that. I know that all was kind of quick
yes.
and throw it all and go.
Yep, pretty much.
That's not easy to do in South Dakota because if you get there and you need stuff, what is on Main Street La Plante? What if you needed stuff right where you are? What does your town offer?
It offers a lot in nature and people.
Yeah.
There is not a lot in the town that I'm in. There's like the school, and I think it's like population 200. So the gas station is also like the quick grocery mart.
That's what I ask a lot of people when they're from a smaller town is, does your town have a standalone grocery store? No.
No.
So how far do people have to go if they want to exclude the Walmart and Pier? If you want to go to a grocery store, get your bread, your milk, your fresh vegetables.
Yep. So they can go to Eagle Butte, which is like 30 miles down the road one way, or they can go to Gettysburg, which I think is like 50 miles down the road a different way.
So no matter what, you're looking at an hour in the wintertime, no matter what.
Yep. It is definitely something you have to strategically plan. So I'm working on stocking up and then, figuring out some stuff for the emergency shelter of what type of things do I need down there. But yeah, it was a life-changing decision to move out here, and it's continual learning. So it's been.
Are there any franchise drive-through food joints?
Not in my town. Nope. Not in my town.
Go get a McFlurry?
Nope. Eagle Butte has Taco John's and Dairy Queen. Is it Dairy Queen? Yep. And only.
Is it a seasonal Dairy Queen? Is it one of the little ones where they're not open in the winter?
I don't know yet. It's in the gas station. So one side is Taco John's, then it's the gas station, and then the other side is Dairy Queen. So I don't know. Great question. It's easy for me because I'm not the biggest fast food person anyways.
Right.
But you had to make some conscious decisions. Yep.
Yes. It's different when you've always lived somewhere where
you have the access.
I live in the country and I still am just a few minutes from fast food. So
yep. I mean, I have to think when I go grocery shopping, do I already have ice? Do I have my ice chest cooler? Do I have the bag? Is this trip to get ice cream or not? Those type of thoughts do run through my mind, which fortunately, while I was in Oklahoma, I lived in a smaller town again, bigger than this, but a smaller town. And I had to think about entertainment and shopping and churches that I was attending. So Yeah.
What is the that's usually one of my next questions is how many churches are in the town that you live in? How many different faiths?
Sorry, I laugh. One of the things that is so surprising for me is that I guess it's surprising and not surprising, is that we're an Indian country and that there is a way of life and a rich, beautiful culture and heritage, and how much that has been demonized. But then that faith systems have come in and weaponized all of this amazing cultural things that any type of Christianity faith in essence has. So I think right around my where I live, there might be like 5 churches. I don't know if they're all still up and running,
Right.
because I didn't come here before COVID started, but there's like 5 churches. And
And
so
yet where you live, like you said, culturally, faith in native tradition, your faith is all around you. Your faith is in
all
your
around you,
daily works. It's in how
everything you do,
you treat everything is your faith. You don't need a special kind of building to be in touch.
right,
And there are a lot
right,
of people, even of the Christian faith, that are like, I don't need a special building to talk to,
right.
and to practice my faith and live my faith. But that
Uh-huh.
is interesting when you hear about a small town that is surrounded by churches, and the first thing you say is they use it as a weapon.
Yeah, yeah. It's very, I've definitely been parts of different faiths of Christianity and have friends in all different faiths, and I feel like that has been so enriching to my life. Everyone talks about
You've always been very open about your Christian faith is a strong part of your life, always has been, everywhere you've
yep,
lived, everything you do. It's not
yeah. It's not like a hidden thing, and yet it's still something of like I definitely want to be the Christian that if someone like, "Oh, we didn't know you were Christian," not because of in like we don't like Christians, but for some odd reason we like you. Like I definitely like that response more than like, oh my gosh, we can't, talk to her type of a deal. Because you go and the interesting thing for me is in all of the countries that I've traveled to, the Christianity that I've experienced in those other countries feels more like what I'm experiencing on the res.
okay.
So, an openness, a welcomeness, a generosity, a compassion and truth and respect and honesty. A lot of the things that are part of the 7 virtues of the Lakota people are things that I experienced everywhere else, predominantly in what I would call like warm climate cultures. So, like people that they're more about the collective community versus individualism, and so you see that a lot in I've been to Africa, I've been to Haiti, I was in Australia. So it's just very it's not surprising. And it's just like, I wish more people traveled outside of where they're comfortable, where they go and be the other so they can experience what the global majority looks like versus what the predominantly white feeling looks like here in America.
I find that interesting because I am not a traveler. I am very excited to say I've been to Iowa and Minnesota. I've been to the Odas. I've been to the
The Otis.
Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota. I've been
Minnesota.
to this. I'm not a traveler, and yet my friends that have traveled the world say, you go to another culture, another country, and another type of people, and often they're so when you get there, they're like, hey, let's immerse you in our stuff and let you try it all out. And then we get here and we're all like, oh, you're not like us, don't come and play. And
Hmm.
or any culture we do have, we're very gatekeeping about it.
Yeah. One of the things I like to share with people is like America, everyone talks about it as this melting pot. And honestly, it is one of the analogies I hate the most because when I think about a melting pot, everything has to melt into this seemingly one taste. And it just doesn't work. So I like the tossed salad. Like I want to taste the spinach and the arugula and the carrots and the radishes and the beets and the dressing. And so all of those ingredients make up like a tasty bite where unity doesn't mean uniformity and you still get to maintain your individuality within this collective community. So for me, obviously I am American, but I'm a Black American, and one of the things we notice is that everyone else gets to say they're American, we have to say African American, then it's, the Japanese American and those things. So it definitely makes you feel like an other. So we don't feel like we're part of that. I'm in a country that I don't belong to, but I still don't know what my roots are. And I'm kind of a brat. I refuse to pay Ancestry DNA or any of those things to tell me my culture, my ancestry when you stole that from me.
Right.
But yeah, but there's this thing about like, why are we so scared of the other? We need to learn about different people and their cultures and their heritages, and depending on where they live, like if they're closer to the sun versus farther away from the sun, all
Mhm.
of these different techniques that they come by to live, to thrive, to succeed. It's not right or wrong. It's just different. And so when I look at other people, or I even look at my experience here thus far where I am, I can realize that um, this is a way of life and it's different than mine, but it's not wrong. And my way isn't right. It's just different.
Right. When you got there, besides the things like adapting culture and adapting, um, like having a different experience, are my urban amenities in Sioux Falls that I'm so attached to. You have none.
Yeah.
um, things like that. What about when you say living closer to the sun and living closer to different parts, you're talking equator, latitude, and longitude. But also, I definitely think some people in our state, no matter what county they're in, by their personality and their nature, live closer to the earth. And
Hmm.
I try to be very much that way. If I don't walk barefoot outside every day, even when it's snowing, I feel like I've done something wrong.
Hmm.
What is the earth like there? What is the terrain? What is the environment? And was it something that when you went there, you felt like, yes, I can embrace this? Or, gee, I'm going to have to kind of learn this?
Yeah. I think for me, it was definitely an and. One of, I think, the unique things about me is that, like, I'm 39 and single, and I love it, and I love companionship and things like that. Like, friendship breakups for me are actually harder than, like, romantic breakup, like, type of deal. But so because of that, and because this life that I've decided to live, my home has essentially become people. It's not a place. And so I strive to make that environment and that culture and that atmosphere around me something that is pleasing for me, and in that I feel like it helps ground myself to what's going on. So physically, it's been the change, but it's also so nature-esque, and you hear the birds, and I don't know, it's like better than a Bob Ross painting. I don't even know how to, describe it. There was a day that I drove to Chamberlain and I just took the back roads, and everything was green and the grass is swaying and the sun is shining, and you feel like you're looking at like an underwater experience on top of the earth. And so those things to me are just so calming, so grounding, that I think it helps like settle me and just help me feel like I'm part of something that's bigger than myself. And then, of course, like, oh my goodness, the culture out here is just so rich and vast. And I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised at the fact that like there was a way of life that was here before anything else existed here on Turtle Island, and we took those things away, and now we're blaming people for situations that they're in. But like, Native Americans want food sovereignty. Food sovereignty means that they can live off of the land. We did some there were we get tags for hunting, and so every piece of the animal is used. It is not wasted. Recycling clearly came about, like that was one of the first forms of recycling here on Turtle Island, right? And so there's no recycling here in this community. And so I got to find this quote because as I was thinking about this, ooh, there was a notification that 6:05 just went live.
Yeah.
So, and it's from a book, but is from the movie. Is it Ever After? I don't know. But if you suffer your people to be ill educated and their manners corrupted from infancy, and then punish them for those crimes to which their first education disposed them, what else is to be concluded, sire? But you first make these and then punish them. And so, I mean, we took a way of life from a group of people, and now we're condemning them for how they're living as if we didn't bring trauma to them. And now we're also judging them for wanting that way of life back because of what the global like what everyone else has to lose as if they haven't lost everything.
Right.
It's
And
just
that goes all the way back to your melting pot. That's like even anyone who immigrates to this country at any time, we're like, well, and when you get here, you have to
check these boxes.
Gentrify all of your individual cultures and be like one. You know, you have to be, you can't bring any of your individuality and mix it in with us. You know, please pick one of our offered religions. They are all actually the same religion. We just give them different names, and they have different kind of sandwich meat. You know,
and some cheese.
Yeah, different. You know, please pick our education system, where a lot of it is wrong, but it's the easiest, most palatable way to put it out there. You know, all those things we took away. Don't learn any other languages, God forbid.
But the Lakota language saved us in war.
Right. Yep. I think I used to say growing up that, or once I was a grown up, I said to myself that one of my greatest regrets was that I never learned another language. And then after I became a mom, I realized as she got older that no, my greatest regret was I never helped my child learn any other languages. I already knew that was wrong in me. Why didn't I give that to her? Why didn't I make that different for her? And so I feel, but there's always hope. My dad's on his like 600th straight day on Duolingo with Spanish. So there's always hope.
Go, Dad.
Just little updates sometimes. I'm like, there we go, Dad. So
I love it.
Yeah. I don't know who he's talking to, but the little owl, but he's doing something.
Oh my goodness.
So what brought you, if I were to just up and decide to move to another place in South Dakota, the job I do may or may not exist in that town, but like my experience in retail, every town has a cash register and something. I mean, I'd be able to find any job, but you have a very specific and special type of job. And so what was it, just the work? Was it choosing to want to do that work that had you move, or did you already feel like I want to go somewhere in South Dakota and then the work found you?
Yeah, I think I'm just like such an and person rather than an either or. I drive people crazy because I'm just so abstract. But it was a mixture of both. So honestly, my time in Oklahoma, I tell people while it's a great state, it was the most depressed I've ever been in my entire, not in my entire life, but in my entire adult life. So I always knew I wanted to come home. I never thought that I would stay stateside, if I'm being honest. I always had aspirations to go live in another country and stay there and whatnot. So I've always had like this humanitarian heart, and every job that I've had has always been within the helping field. It took me a long time to realize that. But when I realized that, then that really helped me start to narrow down and focus on things. So in 2001, I thought I was was that 2001? Maybe it's 2010. I graduated in 2001. I started doing some stuff with a nonprofit, and I thought I was going to go move overseas to Sierra Leone for 2 years and work with anti-human women who had been trafficked. And so I was going to live in a safe house with them. And then I found out I wasn't going. But by that time, I had like broke up with my boyfriend. I had sold my car. I had worked myself out of a job. I didn't know what was next. And every agency I called did not want to take me because they thought that I was like some young teeny bopper that just wanted to get her passport stamped. And then it was this, well, if you go, you're going to have to come back in 2 years and finish your degree. And then you can go back, because I think there's this assumption that if you have this degree, you're going to want to go back to your country. And I was like 25, 26, and I was like, I don't even want to go to college now. I'm not going to want to go in 2 years. So I was like, let's just do this now. So it's like a done deal. So I went to college to finish a degree in global studies. And I, at that time, thought I was going to go overseas with an agency, and it just didn't work out. And so that's how I ended up in Oklahoma for 10 years. But I'd always been like working on the whole self-healing and reparenting and all of those things, knowing that I continually wanted to move, because that was the whole goal. And would continue to go on mission trips and things like that. And then I think a lot of people who want to do like missions and helping field, it's to make themselves feel good.
Right.
And I got to practice 10 years of not feeling good.
Resume.
Yes.
And taken.
Yeah.
Just
So
tossing that in there. Okay.
I love it. I love it. But so for me, that was never the deal. Like I just felt so alive and I found my purpose in doing that. So like not being able to go for those 10 years was just like a slow and painful death each year, honestly. And so I would find different ways to do humanitarian things, whether it was like I called it feeding the homeless, but I think the proper thing now is houseless. So doing things for feeding houseless and hygiene kits during COVID for people need different things. So I've always just found ways to do that. So my goal was always never to be so connected to a place that if there was not an opportunity to do humanitarian work there, that I would feel like my life was over. So I was always going for a feeling and home being a feeling in people. And so it was always about like, where can you go and take this gift that only you can bring? So when I came home in 2021, my goal was always just I'm going to be here for 2 years max, but I need to reconnect. I need to polish the resume, but for those aspects, and that hopefully within 2 years you're up and out. And then so most people will ask, well, if you could do anything and money wasn't an option, what would you be doing? And so that's what I Googled every night when I couldn't sleep. And thank goodness to Facebook and algorithms and things like that. My current job found me, and it showed up in my algorithms. And it was like, 2 o'clock in the morning. I submit something that says, I want to apply for this job as a professional foster parent. Contact me. And then they contacted me. And so that's honestly how I ended up coming here, but it's just the deal of like the work found me and then just me being persistent in it. I think a lot of people, we have these goals and we see our dream at the finished aspect rather than all the work it takes to get up to it. So while Oklahoma was for me, it also built me and is part of my story of the woman that I am today that allows me to be the perfect person for my job. So I don't know if I answered that, but
I find it interesting that a lot of American, the idea of, well, if somewhere needs help, we have to go there to find it. We have to go to Sierra Leone. We have to go to Haiti. We have to go uh, to Brazil. We have to go on these trips. And there's a lot of pockets of our own country that are someone else's version of Sierra Leone, that someone else's devastation.
right.
Other parts of the world see us as a devastated country just as much as we see other parts of the world. And
Facts.
like you said, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of wide open spaces, and there's a lot of uh, lack of opportunity. There's a lot of
Mhm.
lacking in
Yep.
some parts of our country. And it's interesting, too, that you would say your goal has always been whatever I'm doing is to bring me up and out. As I've watched you over these years, whatever you're doing, you're always bringing someone else up and out.
Mm.
So your own path has always, whether they liked it or not, they were going to brush their damn teeth and get a job. Like you're always doing that for others as well. So, and you did go to a part of South Dakota that I would consider probably a little more economically depressed.
Mhm. Mhm.
What are, I mean, when the core job opportunity that found its way to you, obviously it's perfect for you, is to be a professional foster parent. What are other people doing for jobs in that area? What does that area offer for industry?
Yeah, it's one of those things that is amazing to me because there is so much natural, real, creative talent here. And so when you look at things like, I believe it was like Teton clothing that they just realized was like indigenous but not indigenous owned. And so a lot of cultural appropriation and things like that. There are people here who have, man, their earrings and their necklaces and their medallions and the moccasins that they're making. So you just see a lot of natural
Ability.
art and creativity, yeah, and ability. And so, you hear all these stories about like there's probably a president somewhere that we will never know about, and not because they don't have the capacity, but because the resources that they should be offered aren't there. And so I see a lot of that here, with the people. I'm always careful to not wanting people to like be culture vultures or culturally appropriate me, not to do the same thing in others. And so I realized that while I am a brown woman, I'm a brown woman from the Black perspective. So it's still my observed perspective. And while we have a lot of parallel shared experiences of genocide and poverty and just things like that, it hasn't always ended the same way because of things that have been important to, each people group. And so I just I'm not I'm amazed at the talent of seeing it, but I'm not shocked or surprised by the talent, if that makes sense. But it's great to see people that are comfortable in their own skin and their talents and their culture and their way of life. I have people here who tried to teach me Lakota. I have people here who have tried to teach me how to bead. I've had people teach me how to like skin a hide so that we can maybe tan it later. I mean, I have an elk tongue in my refrigerator right now so I can learn how to cook it. So I think there's so much here. And I think the easiest way to share what it is to say that this is like another culture, that oral tradition is huge and significant. So you are always learning, and people are always willing to share that with you, especially if they feel safe with you and that you're not going to try to like take it and make it something of your own. And so, um, one of the most talented things that I see here is just like helping me, I think, just settle, as well as like, man, reconnect to my African roots. Because as an indigenous culture where drums and music and food and things like that are huge, that's also huge in Africa. And so there's things that I'll be doing, and I'm like, wow, I wonder how my people did this at different times and what it still looks like. So it's amazing thing for me.
And then how awesome it is to have the person next to you turn to you and say, "But you're our people here."
Yes,
Like,
yes, yeah.
yeah. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Well, my people do. I'm right here.
Right? Because there's a saying, all my relatives. And so, yes, they treat everyone as a relative. And so, yeah, for me, I think the thing that I see the most is because materials are, I don't know, they're there, but I mean, if you've had, and like you said, and you've had not, and I'm a people group that's part of the have nots, people matter. And in everything I do, I see that people matter in the way that they treat me and the way that they help me to be a better mentor and parent for the children that I will parent, as well as just like out in the community. So we see art, we see beading, we see food. There's a lot of governmental jobs out in Eagle Butte as well. But the thing that I recognize and appreciate the most is just how they have a way with people that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel like you belong, that makes you feel seen, and in a way that we want to share our culture with you, but we also want you to share your culture with us.
And the kids
Mhm.
that are coming to you, are they all local from the Cheyenne River area, or do they come from other parts of the state or other parts of the country? How do the kids find their way to where you are?
Yeah, so we are on the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe Reservation. So that is our priority, to keep the kids kind of closer, especially our goal is reunification.
Mhm.
So a chance to still see parents, still see siblings, things like that. And within ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act is huge, and there's things going on in government. I definitely encourage everyone to look at things. If you're angry for there being ICWA, maybe learn about our history, American history. Yeah, why we have ICWA rather than being upset that we have ICWA.
Right.
But so then it's also about Native American children and, those who are enrolled in a tribe and different things like that. So our first priority is to a Native American child within the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe Reservation, but we extend it. Um, it's open because we want to take care of the kids and we want them to be able to keep their culture and their heritage. And we are definitely not kill the Indian, save the man. We don't have that mentality. And so we want them to be able to come somewhere and feel safe. And I mean, we had our first anipi, which is sweat lodge, the other day, and I still have goosebumps from it. And so I can't imagine what would it be like for a child who's had that and then to no longer have it.
Right. Or to have never been able to have it and know it was something they should have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say the most visceral, multi layered religious experience I've ever had is a NEPI. And I don't think it matters where you've been punching the clock on Sundays your whole life. It is you will know the difference between faith and religion once you've done something like that. You will know the difference. And that's probably a lot more religions need that. So
yeah.
What do you think? I mean, we've talked a lot about what you've learned from going there and what you've been seeking and what you've been finding. And what do you think the kids are when they walk through the door and they're like, all right, lady, we were joking about how you've had to practice that you're not even on all the mom terms of don't make me pull this van around. Have you practiced calling one child 7 other kids' names, but for sure you want them to do whatever you told them to do? And did you practice walking on barefoot on Legos before they got there? Like all these things are brand new for you. So when they walk in, are they like, challenge accepted? we're going to teach you to mom, I tell you what.
Right. Yeah. Whew. And is that ever? I have one relative right now. I've decided to stay within the age range of 12 to 17 females, just because of some of the work that I've done in the past, in a transition house, and as well as just like, it's not even so much cultural differences, but like, I know people don't think that I'm my age.
I was just going to say, you are perpetually young. Do they want to be like, so you must be one of the other kids. Where's mom?
Right. I have ones that are like, what? You're younger than my mom, so figuring out what that looks like. But yeah, it is crazy. I was just telling my crew of like, y'all have parented already. Like I'm first time parenting at the age of 16. So for me, it's like another curve on top of a curve. Because I'm trying to figure out what does that look like in your home, and like when do you push back, and when do you like my relative has been with me a little over a month, and we're kind of in a phase of like testing boundaries, and which ones do you test and you let go and which ones do you not. So it's a huge learning curve, and it's I'm fortunate that I've had like an amazing life experience of highs and lows and ups and downs and things I shouldn't have done. You see that meme of like, our parents have no idea how far we really rode our bikes.
Right.
Those things. So I think I'm fortunate that I've had that, and still have to be open to learning. And so I'm just really hoping that I am showing how important it is to be open to growth, and not in the ways that we expect it. Because there's a lot of trauma out here. And so I think with trauma comes, I want control. Absolute control.
Right.
And so you can't fault it, but you also have to teach how do we ebb and flow with that. And so I think that's a gift that I hope to give, of like, we can want something a certain way and know that we should have things, and still decide how we want to respond when we don't get those things, whether it's based off of historical trauma or racism or lack of, that you don't have to be who society has said you are, to still remain true to yourself. Because I mean, I definitely dealt with that in Oklahoma.
Right.
So just trying to make sure I give that, and just feeling like, I may never have, I may never birth a child on my own. And so what does my legacy look like? And I want it to always be, something that I left people better than I found them, even if they don't realize it right now. And even if I don't see it right now, or I never see it.
Right. Do you think that being in that, I always talk about that I love being from the prairie, and that even in our urban centers, we're not far from the wide open spaces. And I also talk about how people forget how cold and dark it gets on the prairie at night, and how a lot of things can happen out there. But there's also, the sun always comes up, and a lot of things happen in those big open spaces. Do you think that, looking at your differences from living in Oklahoma, or living here in Sioux Falls, or traveling the world, do you think that the the natural area there, how does that benefit those kids? How does that benefit, how big of a role does the environmental setting of where you are play in developing the where you live in your work, in developing success for all those kids?
Yeah. Well, one, I think it matters for everyone. I think, unfortunately, kids these days don't get to learn independence like we did. They don't get to learn those critical thinking skills, or just like math and things, of like, I got to be home before the street lights are on, like just those
Right.
different things that we learned based off of those things. Um, I think that present day is still as horrible as it was when we were kids. We just didn't have news 24/7, that we
Right.
weren't aware of it. There were still predators and all of those things out there then, just as they are now. And so this whole
Well, and I think that when I was young, the idea of where the predators were was so misrepresented. The predators were in our own houses. There wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't predators out there, but so many
right,
kids and so many people who are adults now aren't even realizing that we were learning our stranger danger was the biggest distraction from what other predatory behaviors exist.
right.
Like just cut just there, that's a line in the sand for me, is that I honestly think that that changed the direction of a lot of kids being able to get help, because no one believed the predators at home were at home.
Right.
They were
Or
all
within
in
the family and mhm,
you know.
down by the river. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that nature in and of itself has some of the most powerful thing. I mean, how often do we hear about vitamin D deficiency?
Mhm.
How often do we hear about, just these things? And so I think being out here in nature is amazing, because when you don't have access to all of those different things, there is this something that happens. So we're binge watching Life Below Zero. And one of the reasons we're binge watching it is when it's in Alaska, but also there are two Native American family groups in the seasons that we're watching. But there was this saying that's just, it made me angry. This person said, "Yeah, I came out here so I could experience adversity." And my thought was, how bleep and lucky are you that you have to go out to the middle of nowhere to
Well,
experience adversity?
now I've never seen that show, and I'm probably profiling, but I'll just preemptively apologize for that white person. I'm assuming white.
Mhm, mhm.
Because yeah, I mean, like, we are soft. Like, I'm over here crying because you're 30 minutes from a Taco John's. And I often say, I know I could probably walk into that Taco John's without money and they would give me a taco and not even feel bad about it or think anything about it. Whereas what happens to a brown kid when they come in
Mhm.
the same thing, you know? And
Right.
I'm 100 and above and beyond percent know what privilege is. I
Mhm.
just it doesn't matter how poor I've ever been. I
Mhm.
I absolutely know that I've lived under the umbrella of privilege because I was born pale
Mhm.
in
Well,
America.
and that's honestly one of the things. I mean, there's a lot to appreciate about you, let's be honest. But one of the things I've just always appreciated about you, and when we've worked together and seeing you do different things in communities and how you speak out for people, and even just when someone says something and how you're like willing to learn, like, this is my opinion right now based off of the information I have. But if you give me more information to change my mind, I'm willing to change my mind. And I've always felt like you are a person that understands that we're not saying that white people don't experience hardships. We're just
Right,
saying that the color of your skin will never be a
right,
reason for your hardship.
right.
So thank you for saying that.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Yes, but I do think that, like, out here, this way of life, you really get to know yourself, right? Of like what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You're always with community, so you learn how important and how valuable community is. You also learn how to stick up for yourself within your community too, right? 'Cause so many times people want things for us that we don't want for ourselves, and we have to decide, is it just that I don't want it? Am I scared of it? Is someone going to help me? And so I just feel like this whole communal aspect of we move together When we do this, you uplift us all. It's not just about yourself. There's a lot of pressure with that, and I say that coming from a Black community as well. And there's a lot of pride of knowing that like your ancestors that are here with you and your ancestors that are no longer here with you are they've done something for you to be able to do what you're doing now. I mean, for me, the environment that I'm in, I always remember talking to my grandparents in Arkansas and them telling me that everyone thinks that they would have been part of the civil rights movement or social justice movement. And there will be a day and a reckoning where we will get to see if we will or won't be a part of that. And we're in that day, and many people are recognizing that they wouldn't, that they don't want to do it, that they don't want to lose things that other people should have already had access to and aren't having it. And so by you gaining what is rightfully yours, it takes away from me. So I don't want you to have it. Right. So I think physically the environment is great for myself and the children because I mean, there's people that can hear a bird and know what bird it is. There's people, they see like antlers, just the antlers, and they know it's an antelope or a mule deer or a white.
It's age and it's health and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything is medicine and medicinal.
I don't even know where tacos come from. I could never live in the wild. I don't know how to hunt a lettuce.
Oh my gosh, you're a mess. I love it.
I
never hunt a lettuce.
I mean, that on the flip side, mocking any that is probably the Black mark of what privilege does to a lot of white people is like we really do consider a cold day adversity. We really do consider a lot of. I feel very lucky. I grew up knowing where my food comes from. I grew up with farm elements in my life and farm family and things like that. But like I know children that didn't know their food came from a living animal. And it's like, I mean, I don't necessarily go hunting anymore, but I have, and I've never been along to the slaughterhouse, but I know what they do there. I mean, like, I feel like that is something a lot of urban kids really, really don't know anymore.
Right.
And then when you add the connection of, like you said, taking back the tradition of millennia of generations survived without drive through anything. They survived right where you are. And the ability to do that, having that been either taken away or lost or encroached upon, and to get that back. Do you think the kids are as nervous as you are to live, to be expected to tan a hide?
Yeah, I think they are. So I think, the nice part about us is that like we want to have this culture for them available, but we're not going to force them. And so that's one of the things, we're even just working on with my relative. Like, I felt so proud today. We just had lunch, and I don't use the microwave a lot, but I was kind of lazy and I wanted to be on time for this. So we used the microwave, but we had a lot of home cooked food because we just celebrated things taken. And so learning culturally different things, that, because I had my godmother is a Native American and I just love her. She's so amazing. I remember having a conversation with her of like, hey, how do you feel about Thanksgiving? And just in her way that just makes her amazing. She said, feel the same way that you feel about the 4th of July. And I was like, okay, I get it. Cause I celebrate Juneteenth. For me, the 4th of July is like another day off. And there was just time that we spent with our family. And so I started calling Thanksgiving Friendsgiving. And so my first time out here during that holiday, it's called Thangs Taken, and talking about like things as in people that were taken. And so just learning about that is just like mind blowing, And then, so wait, I got sidetracked. Bring it back, Marshy, bring it back. We were talking about nervousness. So yes, I think they are just as nervous as I am, especially like, so my relative, we warmed up food, and yesterday we had Pizza Ranch because we kind of had a day trip, and we were saying how we ate way more food at home than we were out at Pizza Ranch. And she said, yeah, honestly, I don't think I like fast food that much anymore. such a win, right? Because like we're going back to these things, and I snuck some elk in the spaghetti sauce, which she's not sure if she likes the meat that she's seen us process as much as she does like store bought. But it's just really cool that we're slowly doing that and bringing it about on their pace. And so we're helping them heal from trauma while connecting them back to their heritage and their roots, as well as just giving them options and
Well, and independence.
independence,
I've
right?
never known how to cook, and I did make sure that I was very lucky to have a friend who is a chef. And when my kiddo reached a certain age, I said, "And now you will go to classes with her, and you will learn to cook." And she does not. To her, fast food is a thing that she does with mom, but she will send me pictures of these plates that I'm like, "So what restaurant are you in?" And she's like, "I'm in my house. I
I
use
love
this.
it.
You can do this too." And I'm like, "No, you can bring it over." You know, she came over to make bread for our family Thanksgiving, and she's like cutting up fresh rosemary, and my house is smelling great because I have a bigger oven, so she's using mine, and I'm just like, I don't
I
even know
love
that
it.
much rosemary. What is that? So yeah, I don't have that
I
skill,
love it.
and I'm glad to see that not only does she enjoy it and embrace it, but she could take care of herself.
Right.
So,
And I will say you have like even right now, just the pride that you have in your daughter is so amazing,
oh
but
yeah,
also just knowing how much you've given to her. Like, you started off saying, "Oh, I was disappointed because I didn't teach her how to do a language, but I've done this other stuff." But even just watching how you parent, how you co-parent, like even for me as a first-time parent who will have to co-parent with several others, right? There's so
right.
many people involved, just seeing the different things that you've done for your daughter and encourage her to do. I think one of the things I love most about seeing your relationship is that, like, while you're proud of her, you showed her how to have that intrinsic pride first. She's not doing something just to make mom happy. She's doing this because she is making herself happy and she's proud of herself. And then she's proud of sharing it with you because she knows that you will take delight in her with her individualism.
She's done a lot more to raise me than I have to raise her, really. Which is where I failed as a parent. Whenever you see an independent child and then you're like, "Oh, you're so grown up, you can just do your own thing." That was a horrible thing that I did to her. I did not realize what I was putting on her by just accepting how independent she could be, because then she never really got to do little kid things in a way. She,
Hmm.
and just because of the timing of when we had her and where other people in our lives were at, she kind of grew up as we didn't have a lot of other children her age in our circle,
Right.
so she was always with adults.
Hmm.
um, and I always took her with me everywhere. She was always with me everywhere, so she would see the whole world. And I thought that was good. And then I realized, oh, she never got to like eat snot and dirt very often.
No
I'm
mud pies.
Yeah, I'm sure she did, but like not as much as maybe I did. Like you said, when we were riding our bikes too far for our parents to know.
Uh-huh.
So you can't predict what'll be, how it'll be. You can only do your kind of best. And
Yep.
yeah, I got her to adulthood, or she got me to her adulthood. I'm not sure which, but
Hmm.
that's, what do you think? Where do you see yourself in South Dakota? I feel like you're saying you don't think that you'll leave South Dakota again, not right away. Do you feel like this has encouraged you to want to continue to like seek out other parts of the state that are maybe lesser known and lesser traveled?
I don't really know. I know that I have a 2-year commitment, and I know that I want to make the most of that 2-year commitment for myself and for others. So, like, right now, I see myself helping put plans and processes and procedures into place so everyone just keeps getting continue to build off of that. After that, like, I would love to stay with my current agency and then maybe do something different. While I think I'm great at parenting, I think that, like, there's just something very unique about me of that, like, I'm an outs like, I'm an audible processor, and so people will talk to me, and I will let them know what I'm thinking and how I'm experiencing it and whatnot, and I don't think most people feel comfortable in that vulnerability and sharing those type of things. We're often taught, "You don't say it until you're done, and don't let people know what you're doing until you've done it." where that's just not been my thing. I've had so many failures and I've had so many successes. And honestly, the things that I consider successes, most people consider failures. So I think I have so much more to give in that whole lived life experience, and just helping people understand who they are and accepting that, and what a gift that is, just to be comfortable in that. So with that, I see that playing out in so many different ways. So I don't know what that actually means, other than just being open for that. In Christianity, we always talk about that verse where it says, here I am, God, send me. And most people, he'll be like, okay, I'm going to send you. And it'll be like, okay, but not there.
Right.
Um,
Right. Or not
where
today, or not this time.
exactly, where that hasn't been my thing. So I don't know what it looks like. And I think I almost having a concrete plan scares the hell out of me more than having an abstract plan, because then you're willing to, for me, then I'm willing to hear out other potentials and different things, and decide how I think that might work out for me, and then make the best decision with the information I have at that time and go with it. And no matter what, I've still learned something, I've still gained something, I've met someone that I never would have met.
You learn
Hopefully I've impacted their way.
young.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll be in South Dakota, maybe I won't. Hopefully, I am one of those people that people wanna be like, "She's from our town, though." I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like you saying, when people, if they're not already aware of your faith practice, they will say, "Oh, but I really like you." And it's like, well, that's because the difference in living a Christian life and just saying you're a Christian. The difference in
Yeah.
how you live your life is
Mhm.
what makes you likable, and things
Mhm.
like that. Oh, one last quick question. Are you
Oh,
allowed to
yes.
have pets?
So, we can have pets. I've decided not to, especially as a first-time parent,
Because
and
how much pets love attention.
I know, just c I instead, I have teddy bears. These are, like, my babies. But there are tons of res dogs, so we do get our pet fix that way. I mean, I hear cows mooing all the time, and I hear coyotes, like, bothering them. The other day, like
Pets. Coyotes are not pets.
I know. We hear deer going through our yard all the time, so it's pretty cool. But yes, we can have pets. I've decided not to right now, because I should probably make sure I can do well in raising a human being before I add another thing. And allergies. Unfortunately, I would love a cat. They're easy maintenance, but I'm allergic. And they're like way easier maintenance than dogs.
And I suppose they have to. I mean, I know there's other people like you that are there to be in the professional foster parent setting. I suppose they do have to make sure some of you are allergen safe for that reason.
Mhm.
Like, not
Yep.
everybody can have a pet, because you might have a kid that comes in that needs to be in an allergen safe place.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
cat dander, once there's cat dander in your home, there is cat dander in your home.
There is cat dander.
You
But
know,
they're so cute and they're so squishy and their little meows.
right? And then, when they're being cuddly, they're sizing you up to see how good you'll taste if they find you dead. Yep.
Not that your cats have done that ever.
I don't know. All those years I lived with pit bulls, I mean, we had 5 pit bulls. I was never afraid of, I used to own a wolf hybrid. I was never afraid
Ooh.
of being eaten by any of my pets until that little black cat came into my life. I was like, I'm not sure that cat's gonna wait till I'm dead. Yeah, I could wake up with 5 pit bulls and be like, "I'm good, I'm fine." And
Ah,
they're like, "Yeah, we're meaty. We can wait a few days to eat." That cat, no, I'm not sure.
I
So
love it.
yeah. I have embraced that white lady culture. Bring me your critters. Bring me something weird. I'll tame it. It's fine.
Oh my gosh, you're the best.
Little baby carrier. It's great. Well, I have taken up an hour of your time, and I know you said scheduling is very important. That is definitely a parenting thing you've learned. I do advise doing some barefoot Lego walking, because there is no more badass way to prove to your kids that you are the toughest in the house than to walk across the Lego floor without flinching.
Right?
You'll cry alone in your closet later, but
Yes, I will.
yes, yes. Well, I love, I did put a link in the description, and that is to, if people want to help support your house and your relatives,
Yes.
that, because Amazon wish list is a big way you guys get things you need there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
As much as it's unfortunate that in rural areas we are dependent on the behemoth shippers to get things out to us, but yeah, you're looking at replenishing supplies for kiddos a lot, and and they probably come to you with less than a lot of kids already just have on the day-to-day. They start from
Yep.
scratch.
Yep. Depending on where they were before they came here. So yeah, my Amazon wish list will change periodically. But I think we have certain things now, and then as the seasons change or we figure out what we need, because we're still brand spanking new. So yeah,
Right.
check it out and let us know.
Yes, yes. So everybody should check that out. And if they order from that wish list, it is a tax deductible charitable donation.
Uh-huh.
And it'll send it right to where you guys need it.
Yep, it'll send it to us at our house, and we kind of go through different things and sometimes upload, okay, this is where we're at right now and this is what we need. And then my company will send you, like Jenny said, that tax deductible donation. And then, you always have to put the plug. If you check that out, obviously we haven't said a lot, but I do work at Simply Smiles. And if you're looking for somewhere to donate to on Giving Tuesday, Simply Smiles would love that. And I would love it too. And so would my babies. So they would learn a new way to have people that they don't know, that these folks care about them. And that's really important.
Then that is also something that's taught. And the only way you can teach that is to do that for someone else, is for someone else to help you, to learn how to help others. So yeah.
And to learn how to accept help.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Marshondria.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yay. Oh my gosh. So I've learned all kinds of new things. Simply Smiles, I'm definitely going to go and look them up. I know they're on Facebook, and I know that they have a lot of information on their website about what they are and what they do. And I think that that's amazing. And I think that community living, and I think that's a great thing for kids. Being in touch with your neighbors, that's something else we've lost. Being in touch with the people immediately around you and learning from them. And definitely, as you listen to Marshondria talk about what they're offering these kids for a living arrangement, go back, and the video that I often reshare the most is talking with my friend George about being a young man in Western South Dakota and being taken from his Lakota family, put into boarding school, having his language punished out of him, his culture punished out of him, and his goal as an adult to bring that back and give that back. And so that is what we used to offer kids. It wasn't even an offer that we stole from them. And now, generations later, finally, it's working towards giving it back. So please do support them on Giving Tuesday and any Tuesday. And 605 Speaks, Dewey County, now checked off the list. I would still love to talk to more people from that area and your area. Remember, there are 66 counties, so I've got a lot to go. If you know anybody who is interested in telling me about their grocery stores, their gas stations, their hair salons, things like that, 605speaks.com, send them my way. Have a great rest of your day, and stay warm, everybody. It's about to get cold in South Dakota.